The NBA playoffs are here, and I'm getting my bets in on FanDuel. Talk to me, Chuck GPT. What do you know?
All sorts of interesting stuff, even Charles Barkley's greatest fear.
Hey, nobody needs to know that.
New customers bet $5 and get $250 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. 21 plus and present in Virginia. Must be first online real money wager. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's tax season, and we're all a bit tired of numbers. But here's one you need to hear. $16.5 billion. That's how much the IRS flagged for possible identity fraud last year. Now here's a good number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, they'll fix it. Guaranteed. Save up to 40% your first year at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Talk is Cheap podcast, your go-to destination for everything New York Giants. I'm your host, Ryan Novozinski, joined here by my co-host, Daryl Slater. We're talking everything NFL draft today, with the draft just, I guess, 2 weeks away now. Daryl, I don't think we've ever done this before, man. So how you doing?
Yeah, well, we've always had someone else hosting or whatever, so it's or solo, right? So it's good to chat with you. We always have these conversations, obviously, off the air about what the Giants are going to do in free agency or the draft or whatever. So 2 weeks to go. It's I mean, honestly, it feels like it's far away, but it's like, come on, get here already, right?
No, I think I completely agree with you, and I think a lot of fans are tired of hearing about the just how much this has been fluctuating over the past couple of weeks. Like, you got, at first, for months, it's like, all right, they're taking Shedeur Sanders. You know, he's got the cleats and everything that he never actually wore in the game, I think should be noted. And then, but it seemed like a surefire thing. Shedeur Sanders is going to be a New York Giant. Then it was like, all right, maybe they like Cam Ward a little bit, but okay, maybe the Titans like Cam Ward a little bit more. And you know how the story's gone since then. Now it's like, all right, then it was Travis Hunter, and now it's Abdul Carter. It seems like a lock. Now, Daryl, let's put you in Joe Shane's war room in 2 weeks here in Green Bay, or I guess they'll do it from East Rutherford. What would you be pounding on the table to do at number 3? So this is what you would do, not what the team is going to do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so trade up is obviously not happening. The Titans are going to take Cam Ward at 1. Then 2 becomes the interesting spot, right? So there's a lot of if-then possibilities. So, like, what would I do if this? What would I do if that? But let's say it's Travis Hunter 2 to the Browns. That seems like the most likely possibility now. What would then it's Shedeur Sanders or Abdul Carter there, right? I think most people agree that Shedeur Sanders is not the third best prospect in the draft. He's just not. But, you know, a team that's desperate for a quarterback, what would I do there? I think I would take him. I think I would take Shedeur Sanders at 3. I understand Abdul Carter's perhaps the best prospect in the draft. But you need to find, I know you can't force it. I understand Joe Shane made that plain as day at the owners' meetings in Florida last month, and it's seemingly telegraphing that he's going to pass on Shedeur Sanders at 3. But I think I would go Sanders there. Then let's say Sanders goes 2.
Yeah.
You got Carter or Hunter. I would go Hunter. Look, Hunter, obviously, we don't need to sit here and spend 10 minutes talking about why Travis Hunter is a good prospect. Okay, it's understood to anyone's listening to this. I just need help at both of the positions that he plays. Abdul Carter, great prospect. Some red flags with a assault issue that he had just last year. And I understand he's the best prospect in the draft, and most people think it'll be a no-brainer at 3. But I mean, are they really that low on Kayvon Thibodeau? I mean, Brian Burns, really good edge rusher, right? They have good pass rush production from Dexter Lawrence. Obviously, he's not an edge rusher, but they invested in this position. Right? You're going to take a guy at 3, considering all your other needs that you have. So I would say I would go Hunter over Carter if Sanders goes 2. If Carter goes 2, then would I take Hunter or Sanders? I mean, I think I probably would still take Shedeur Sanders there. The quarterback is a position where it's worth taking a big swing, right? Because the payoff is so significant, and it would be a big swing. That's what I would do. And I think we'll probably get into what we think he'll do. But what about you? What would you do there at that spot? I think perhaps it might be a little different than what I said.
Oh, it's definitely different. I've been pounding the table, I think, since like December, saying they shouldn't draft a quarterback. So I was a little bit on an island there. And that was just because as you go about this season and you start to hear things a little bit, and you just start to watch. I mean, the one game that I watched of Shedeur Sanders was when he kicked the crap out of my college team this year. He beat OSU by like 52 or something like that. And I was like, all right, that looks impressive. But then you watch kind of the full body of work, and it's like, all right, there's issues with the arm talent there. There's, he's not the athlete his dad is. Like that's the one thing that every scout, every person you kind of talk to about this at the combine or what have you, that's the one thing that they always bring up. Well, he's not his dad's. He's not the athlete his dad was. So you don't have that element to it. Not that you necessarily need that, but it's kind of nice, in this modern age of the quarterback. So I've been pounding the table since December to take one of Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I'm more of an Abdul Carter guy. And that's because, first of all, I'm not incredibly bought into the Brian Birds and Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, more so the Kayvon Thibodeau thing. Although I will say, I will concede that I think he's now become just a little bit underrated because he didn't have that bad of a season last year, comparatively to his season two years ago. But if you can it's like the Giants passing up on Micah Parsons back in, I guess it was 2019.
2021. Yeah.
2021. Right. All right. Yeah. 2019 was the other draft. So I wouldn't make that same mistake. Like there's so many teams that kick themselves over making that mistake. I wouldn't do that again. And to me, that's the kind of the fact that Abdul Carter's even in that kind of echelon of prospects, the fact that he's even talked about in that echelon of prospects just kind of makes him enticing to me. And you got to go back, like the way I view it right now, the Giants and their schedule next year, it's so hard that even with this offense, because Joe Shane decided to run it back and didn't do anything significant other than quarterback on offense, he's basically his only shot next year is winning, with a really high powered defense, right? Why not go all in on it, right? Why not build this defensive front that's unstoppable? And I mean, Travis Hunter kind of addresses that too. Like you can have him in the secondary. Adding him in the secondary completely wipes away the thought of Deonte Banks to me, if he pans out at least. But this is the same team that 2006. This team, they already had Michael Strahan. They already had O.C. Umenara. They got Matthias Kiwanuka. Then again, I think 4 years later, it was they take Jason Pierre-Paul when they already had Kiwanuka, Umenara, and Justin Tuck. So they have a history of building the team through their defensive front, through a strong pass rush. And I think it's time to start getting back to those roots a little bit. And quite frankly, it's all on Bowen. Like Bowen, figure it out how to make it work with these three guys. Like I think, a lot of onus of next season is on what his defense looks like. And obviously, the other things, the other obvious things like Joe Shane's free agency signings panning out and Brian Dable being able to squeeze any juice out of either like a Jalen Milroe or what have you. But I think the reality again goes to what will they do, right? And I think your answer probably is Abdul Carter. So what do you think this team could look like with Abdul Carter? And do you think that, it might not be your first choice, but do you think it could be beneficial to them at all?
Yeah, I think that what you're dealing with here as we articulated all these points about what we think they should do, and as we put ourselves in Joe Shane's shoes, is he's in the spot where, yes, the team needs a quarterback of the future, and it's a bad quarterback draft. They are still rebuilding. They have a lot of roster holes, but he's been basically told by John Mara, like, you got to win now. You got to win now if you want to keep your job. This is the problem with bringing these guys back and putting the pressure on them to win in 2025, to bring a hot seat regime back. They're going to do things potentially that might not be, and I'm not saying drafting Abdul Carter wouldn't be in the long-term interest of the franchise. I'm just talking about, you tend to do things that give you the immediate benefit. Now, things can benefit you immediately and in the future. So I think, great. So I think Carter is probably the logical pick there. So I think the most likely scenario is Ward, Hunter, Carter, right? I think everyone agrees that that's probably, if you had to put money on what the top three will be, that's probably what it's going to be. And where does he fit in? Like you said, you brought it up. I mean, the history the Giants have had with being able to have a lot of pass rushers and make it work. Now, granted, that was with a completely different regime, coaching staff and GM. It's different people altogether. It's just the only thing that's the same as the laundry. But yeah, I think that they could make it work. Certainly, I mean, you have talented pass rushers, and that would be able to cover up a lot of the problems you'll still have in that secondary. I understand Paulson Adebo. Like, let's be honest, come on. Paulson Adebo is not Darrelle Revis, okay? There's that, number one. Number two, Deonte Banks is not even in the same galaxy as Darrelle Revis, okay? So even like lesser player. So they have concerns in their secondary. Jury's still out on Tyler Nubin, okay? The pass rush would be able certainly to cover up for some of that. No doubt. They had a pretty good pass rush last year. That was the one thing they pretty much did well in a 3-14 season across the board in the entire team, right? Like, it's the only thing they did well. They were the 7th best PFF rated pass rush team in the league at 3-14. They did pretty much nothing else well. And you brought it up. I mean, they're going to have to try to win. I wouldn't even say win ugly, because you could win excitingly with defense, but win with their defense, win with low scoring games, and just roll with Russell Wilson for a year, and then let this regime probably think, okay, let's win 8 games. It should be enough to keep their jobs. And then it's a tough schedule, though. It's a big ask. And then revisit quarterback next year with, who knows, Drew Aller, Grant Nussmeier, probably not Arch Manning, because it sounds like his family wants him to start for 2 years. Maybe somebody else entirely. So, yeah, that's, I don't know. I mean, you perhaps are in agreement there on what you think they will do. Given what's available to them, right? I mean, because then it becomes Carter or Sanders. What do you think they will do if it's that?
No, I completely agree. It's
what about Hunter or Sanders?
Yeah, to me, it's. I mean, I'm taking one of those two defensive, potential. The word generational is thrown out way too much, and I don't know that you're going to get a generational talent from one of these, from a draft class like of this ilk. But at the same time, the fact that it's even thrown out there by some pretty credible draft, scouts and mock experts is, pretty enticing to me. And these are two guys these are the only can't miss prospects in this draft. And to me, despite the Giants' needs, at the glaring need for long-term quarterback, I was always of the mindset that you just can't pass on one of these guys. Hunter, same deal. It's like, you add him to that secondary, which we already talked about, like struggled last year mightily. And I think it's instantly, because I think they view him as a corner. But I'm almost, I'm enamored too. And I know some people that I spoke to at the combine were enamored too about what the possibilities of Hunter on offense too. I mean, this is a Blitnikoff award-winning receiver too. So this is not something that's just like, you're not just getting, okay, you're getting, Marcus Jones of the Patriots, souped up, who is a two-way guy or whatever. No, you're getting like a really, really good corner on defense, and then you're getting a really, really good wide receiver on offense. So the comps there, the one comp that I heard is that he could be like, his ceiling on offense could be like a Devontae Smith if you even give him significant reps on offense. If the Giants could come away in this draft with a really good corner, and then for some plays and some certain packages on offense, Devontae Smith, I think that is a really big win for them. So but it also, just talking about like the quarterbacks next year, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on it, but it's kind of the ultimate problem that I've been wrestling with in respect to bringing this regime back is, all right, cool. You got to win 8 games, and then, potentially they save their job and they show, okay, we have a solid defense. We built that up. We won probably our games through defense. We maybe showed something on offense. But we're going to give Shane and Dayball another chance next year because they won 8 games. Well, if they win 8 games, like they're probably out of the conversation for the top quarterbacks next year, right?
Yeah.
So it's another thing that just feels like a domino effect that's just going to keep going years and years and years down the line, which is why, I mean, that's ultimately why, and I know you agree, just based on what we've written this year, is like they probably shouldn't have brought this regime back.
Well, you got to extend them at some point. I mean, they got 5-year contracts starting in 2022. So so they'd be going into their final year of their deal in 2026. Are you going to have them both be lame duck guys? I mean, I suppose you could do that. It's not like you have to. It's not like college sports where you're recruiting players and the years left in your contract really matters. But coming off an 8-win season, would John Mara extend these guys? I understand, the buyout money is pretty much funny money because it's whatever. I mean, but still, it's money that you have to spend on buyouts. Yeah, no, it's an interesting. And so you think Hunter over Carter? You like Hunter better than Carter?
Oh, I like Carter over Hunter, but I think both of them, it's pretty much like 1A, 1B for me. But I'm definitely enticed by what Hunter could do. It's just like the question for me with Hunter is like, all right, but by all accounts, you hear that this guy can be elite, whichever position he decides to play in the NFL. Like, we're not talking like the one narrative that you heard a lot in this pre-draft process is like, all right, great. He's like a unique skill set. He's like the Shohei Ohtani of the NFL. But at the same time, like, is he just middling? Would he just be middling at both positions? And is that just kind of a gimmick, right? No, you hear that he can be elite at both positions, but it's like, all right, but which one could he be better at? Like, and is he willing to take that position kind of thing? He's going to have to. A team is obviously going to force his hand. He's really not going to have any choice, but it's just kind of the question is like, is he going to be resistant to the fact that he's not getting reps on, X amount of reps on offense versus X amount of reps on defense? So, that's the one question that I have. But there's no doubt in my mind that he can, whichever position he chooses that he could be good at. But to me, it's just, I like building through. To me, I'm a build through the pass rush kind of guy. I like the Adebo signing, although I do admit, I concede to your point that he is not Darrelle Revis. But, maybe it's just blind hope for me that, because we kind of went into last season thinking the same thing. If they build up their pass rush, it's going to kind of take the pressure off the secondary, even though the secondary was still awful, even with a pretty good pass rush last year. But if you just add a guy, again, of that stature of what Abdul Carter could potentially be, I just like the makeup of it. And I like what he could potentially do. Is just really tempting to me. And that's why I wouldn't pass up on him. And I think it would actually kind of be best case scenario if he fell to the Giants. However, that said, it wouldn't be a bad consolation prize if Hunter was on the board too. But I think we talked enough about these guys. My question for you now is, they're going to have to get a quarterback at some point, right? Like we probably agree that they're going to have to draft a rookie quarterback. Whether that's day 2 or day 3, we'll find out. Do you have a favorite kind of going in? And do you think that there's any feasible chance that one of these guys, like a Jalen Milroe or what have you, can wind up being their Dak Prescott, their Jalen Hurts? That is a day 2 pick, but ends up booming a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think first you got to think, okay, Cam Ward gone. How far does Shedeur Sanders fall if he comes out of 3, right? He's not going 4 to New England. He's not going 5 to Jacksonville. Where are the spots to watch for him? 6 to Vegas, maybe. I mean, they only made a 1-year commitment, really. 2, 1, 2 at most to Geno Smith. The Jets at 7, probably not. No to Carolina at 8. Yes, perhaps to the Saints at 9. They've done homework on him. Mm-hmm. Then from after 9, you have Chicago, San Francisco, Dallas, Miami, Indy, Atlanta, Arizona, Cincy, Seattle. None of those teams are taking a quarterback. Tampa, Denver, the Steelers at 21, right? So if he falls past the Saints at 9, and you're a team, if you're not even a team like the Giants or the Browns, if you're the Giants or the Browns, and you're sitting 33 or 34, the first 2 picks of the second round, do you jump to 20 in a deal with Denver to get overhead of Pittsburgh if you think Pittsburgh wants him? Because after Pittsburgh at 21, I mean, that's it for a team that could take a quarterback. You got, well, I suppose maybe the Chargers at 22. I'm sorry, the Rams rather at 26. So the Chargers 22, then the Packers, Vikings, Texans, and Rams at 26. Maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Falls all the way to 26. Of the Rams just take him as a potential, option for the future. And then the round ends with Baltimore, Detroit, Washington, Buffalo, KC, and Philly. They're not taking quarterbacks. So I think that 20 to 25, 26 range is certainly a spot to watch. Now, a team could trade into the teens to get him. The Giants could go to 13, 14 from 34. That's a big jump. It's a big jump, especially if you pass on the guy at 3 and you didn't want to invest in him there. And then you're going to invest. Now, I understand, trading up and getting rid of picks like in later rounds is not as big of an investment as a third pick. But so that's one possibility for the Giants and Browns, presuming they pass on Shedeur Sanders and presuming he gets past the Saints at the Raiders at 6 and the Saints at 9. With the Saints being the more likely of those two. Let's just say they don't want him, right? Let's just say they want to either sit at 34 and let him keep falling or whatever, or maybe maybe he falls him at 34, but let's just say the Saints take him. Say no Ward, no Sanders. What then? You go into day 2, the Giants made their one pick. They don't trade up. Sanders and Ward are gone. Ward rather and Sanders are gone. Then what do? Right? So the Browns at 33 are a team to watch because they will have just passed on a quarterback, right? So they go Jalen Milroe. The other guy to watch probably Jackson Dart, right? Those would be the two guys. I don't know. Look, Jim Milroe's a raw player, physically talented, but super raw and inconsistent. That's the type of guy you probably, and got a ton of like tools, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of guy that you would be okay with sitting and quote unquote redshirting for an entire year behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, letting him learn from those guys. And he would need that. So I think he's certainly a possibility at 34. Now he could go 33 to the Browns. That's if they sit there. So I don't know. Are there other quarterbacks that they could potentially take at 34 other than Milroe or Dart? I don't think so, right? You look at this rundown of guys, probably not, right?
Unless they like 25-year-old Tyler Shuck, whose body is made of glass. That's the one guy that I could think of. But to me, it kind of all comes down to, number one, like you mentioned, the chess match that they're going to be at with the Browns. Which GM has more, I guess, cojones to take a swing there? Which Joe Shane said he was going to take a swing at some point on the position, or and I think he was obviously alluding to the Stafford thing at the time. But if you're going to take a swing on a quarterback, it's not signing Russell Wilson. It's certainly not signing Jameis Winston. Take a swing on a quarterback. Like, take a swing on a guy like a Jalen Milroe that you think could be a high prospect and has a high ceiling. Or the biggest swing of all would, like you said, trading up. If Shedeur starts to fall, trading up to the Steelers or with the Broncos right ahead of the Steelers, and taking this guy. And the thing with me is you have to evaluate, whatever these scouts think, however close these scouts think Shedeur Sanders is versus Jackson Dart. Like, is Shedeur Sanders leagues ahead of Jackson Dart, or do the Giants have him kind of neck and neck a little bit? Like, that's the main determining factor. It's like, do we want to trade up a haul, or do we want to kind of, roll with it? And maybe at 34, there could be still a Jalen Milroe or a Jackson Dart still on the board. Like, it's kind of that big thing you have to wrestle with. And, I think the most unfortunate thing about this, just the Giants needing a quarterback like this, and how their plans have kind of changed. Of course, like, Abdul Carter again is a great consolation prize for not getting Travis Hunter or Cam Ward, obviously. At the same time, it's like, I kind of fell in love with some of these day 2 prospects that they could have taken a defensive tackle and what have you. But again, you have to take a swing on a quarterback, even if you kind of don't think, he can turn into a again, like a Dak Prescott or a Jalen Hurts, or like a Jordan Love, like, who the Packers obviously picked all the way down in late in the first round. it's kind of tough. Like the fact that they need to take one of these guys that, they might not even be all that convinced that they can do something, but they have to do something at that position. Right.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of the wrestling match of, do you think that they're going to want to trade up or stay put at number 34? I'm kind of starting to lean towards maybe you should stay at 34 just to kind of get one of them, and hope that one of them falls to you. And if not, you just take a Tyler Shuck if you think, again, I just kind of ripped on the guy, but at the same time, I don't know how different he is, because we always hear about how weak this quarterback class is. So I don't know how much how many tiers below he is below Jalen Milroe, but I know there are some reputable people like I think Dan Orlovsky really likes him. I think Louis Riddick really, really likes him. There's definitely some options, and it's starting to get interesting. His stock has certainly been on the rise as at the perfect time for him.
No doubt. Yep.
So I think the Giants draft situation is just going to be, don't worry, Giants fans, this is going to end soon. All this talk about who they're going to take, and the pivoting nature of, they're going to take Abdul Carter, they're going to take Shedeur Sanders. It's finally going to come to a close because we're just 2 weeks away, although a lot can happen in those 2 weeks. So be sure to stay tuned with us here at Talk is Cheap, and check out all of our written work at NJ.com/Giants. Once again, thank you for listening. I'm Ryan Novozinski, joined as always by Daryl Slater. Have a great day.